We are going to pressure can these potatoes. You cannot water bath potatoes because they are a low acid food. So I have 5 quart jars because that's what we're going to pressure can them in. And I have my pressure canner out. We're going to use the electric pressure canner. I can only fit 5 jars into my electric pressure canner. That's why I have 5 jars out. And I'm going to get these potatoes diced up. When you pressure can potatoes, you don't fully cook the potato. So they make for a great potato for roasting or putting into soups or stews, because you can do the final cook when you open the jar, instead of it taking 45 minutes to roast them and get them crispy in the oven. It doesn't take very long because they're already par cooked. So what I'm going to do is I have 5 quarts out and some water. I'm going to cold pack them. Most recipes say hot pack, but I'm not going to do that because I don't have the energy or the time to do that. You get a prettier looking jar. What happens if you cold pack them is you get a little bit more starch on the outside, or like that's in the water. But if you just rinse that out when you go to use it, then they're just about the same and I can save myself a step. But I would recommend for you to hot pack them if you're going to follow the directions exactly. I don't want air bubbles in my jars, so I find it best to put a little bit of water in the bottom of my jar so that we don't get air bubbles before I add any of the potatoes into the jar. So as soon as they're diced up to my desired size, we're going to get them in the jar. This will keep them from turning brown too. I'm cutting them to the desired size I want when I go to use them. And I'm going to leave 1 inch headspace. There are 2 types of canning processes. There's water bath canning and pressure canning. Today we are pressure canning these potatoes, and you cannot water bath can potatoes because they are a low acid food. So probably the most common type of canning you hear or see is people that are water bath canning, where you can put your food in the jar and you can boil it on the stove and you have a safe product to eat. But you can only water bath can things that are high acid foods, things like jams and jellies, pickles, fruit sauces, fruits, because botulism is what you have to worry about when you're canning, and botulism spores cannot live in an acid environment. So that's why you can water bath can high acid foods. But low acid foods, things like green beans and corn and meat and broth and potatoes, you have to pressure can because botulism spores can survive in boiling temperatures, and so you need the product to get hotter than boiling in order to kill the botulism spores. And that is why we are pressure canning today. And the best thing to do is get yourself a good canning cookbook. I can link my favorite canning resources down below so that you can be a confident canner. If you're new to pressure canning and you've been worried about it, this electric pressure canner that I'm using here is a game changer because it takes all of the thought out of canning. As long as you follow the directions and follow the manual, you will be good and safe. My hands need a little bit of a break from being in water, so I'm going to take a minute to go ahead and prep our produce that we need for the shepherd's pie. I have carrots, celery, onions. I brought up a whole box of onions from downstairs. I'm going to need to get some garlic out. And then we have some homegrown celery as well that's already pre-chopped and pre-diced. So I'm going to get these peeled up and diced up, and then we can wash these after we peel them and do all that. But I want to just give my hands a little bit of a break so they don't get so pruny. And then we'll be back to washing our potatoes that are in the sink, because we got quite a few more of those we need to do. And we will need the mashed potatoes in order to finish this shepherd's pie. So I'm going to make, I think, 2, maybe 3 shepherd's pies, just depending on how much I end up getting out of it. And then we will have one for dinner tonight, and we will put the other ones in the freezer so that freezer meal, and then hopefully we can get out of here. Josh is actually out there right now working on our driveway. Hopefully he can dig us out and we can get out. I have half and half in the emergency that we aren't going to be able to get out because I used the last of what I had already had. And so tomorrow I would have had no half and half. And that would have been a sad day. Would have made it through, but it would have been a sad day. We still are doing okay. I got some frozen veggies still. And technically the pantry challenge is over today. Today is the last day of February and it's Josh and I's anniversary. So we are celebrating by being stuck inside. Josh was really sweet right before he just went out. He said, I feel really bad that we're stuck here and I can't buy you flowers. And I said, that's okay. I'm gonna grow myself plenty of flowers. Don't even worry about it. We probably will go to a nice dinner sometime when we can get out. I cannot believe we spent 8 weeks in the kitchen, every dinner together, and it's been quite the journey. We made it here. I am excited. Pantry Challenge taught me a lot. I've got a lot of thoughts about it. I've been taking notes about my thoughts. So I'm gonna do a recap and we're gonna sit down and kind of go over everything. I cannot wait to go grocery shopping. I am ready for some fresh produce, lots and lots of fresh produce, and I'm ready for this next year's garden. I had some pepper seedlings sprout this morning, and what else do I have? Cabbage and cauliflower sprouted out there, and a couple herbs, and I'm really excited about this year's garden. I'm kind of thinking about maybe doing a pantry challenge during garden season, because that would be extremely easy to do a pantry challenge during garden season, but we'll just see when we get there what this season looks like. The nice thing about this next year is we're not going to be moving during garden season, so I'm going to have a little bit more time to focus on using those fresh produce items as they come out of the garden, versus last year I was really having to focus on preserving it when it came in. If we didn't have time to eat it because we were so busy, it was very difficult to manage all that produce. So I did throw some of it in the freezer, like those tomatoes that we turned into barbecue sauce not that long ago. So I just want to say thank you for being here along the journey as we did this pantry challenge. Thank you, Jessica at Three Rivers Homestead, for hosting this challenge and giving us the idea and helping us, encouraging us to kind of learn how we're storing our food, and if we're storing what we should be storing, what our family eats, what we store too much of, what we don't store enough of, and kind of learning that so that in the event you get stuck and you can't get out, you have things on hand that you can cook and it doesn't become an emergency. So thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. If you enjoyed this, I can pop a couple of my other videos here. You can go enjoy between now and my next upload, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.